I've gotten back into professional wrestling over the past 2 years due to the rise in popularity of AEW. Wrestling itself may be able to provide us some insight into the world that we view on a daily basis. Sports talk shows. These shows have hosts debating topics from multiple different sports and the minute arguments within each. However, some of these hosts have adopted personalities in order to drive up clicks that we may be able to break down when looking at it from a professional wrestling lens. Professional wrestling offers a spectrum of character alignments to present to the fans in order to get a desired reaction from the crowd or set up compelling storylines. On one end of the spectrum, you have the goodest of good boys and the faces, like John Cena and other big names everyone is supposed to cheer for. In the middle, it's its own mini-spectrum of anti-heroes who do good but in a cooler, more I-don't-care manner like Stone Cold. To the bad guys who play to the crowd on occasion and have redeeming character qualities that people would want to cheer for, despite overall being an asshole. Then we have the far end, opposite the goody two-shoe faces. We have the heels. A wrestling heel is the bad guy, whose job is to elicit boos from the audience and foil their favorite heroes in the process. A wrestling heel is the single most important factor when it comes to selling tickets or bringing viewers back in for the next episode of the wrestling show. They will draw boos by insulting the crowd's town or their local sports team by running down the hero that the fans are behind. This is all done so the viewer will want to tune in the next time to see them get their ass kicked and good to win out on top. Now, how does a shirtless man screaming at a live crowd about how much their city sucks relate back to the tailor suit wearing sports media host arguing over whether or not Tom Brady's vegan underwear is helping him win more games this season? The way sports media is driven in today's world is by eliciting strong reactions from an audience based on the sports conversations discussed during the episode. A lot of times this comes in the form of extreme hot takes. The link back to those heel promos becomes slightly more evident. Now we don't have a bad guy yelling at the face, which ultimately wants you to see them fight and the good guy to end up on top. Instead, someone offers a strong take that you disagree with, and you tune in to see their fellow co-hosts tear it down and prove why it is wrong, and be on your side of the argument. The draw may also come from following a sport and seeing that a storyline is developing from the game itself. You become more interested to see how this host, who has predisposed opinions, will take a stance on what's happening, and wondering what extreme lengths they will go to. I have 3 specific examples of how different sports media heels can exist, my own personal takes on how their gimmicks come off to me. Without any more preamble, let's dive into the first thing. First. See what I did there?
Enough from the clown!
One of my most watched shows when it comes to sports media is First Things First, with hosts Kevin Wildes, Chris Broussard, Jenna Wolfe, and the topic of this section, Nick Wright. Nick is a former sports radio host in this Kansas City area where he was well known for the polarizing stance he would take on the sports world. He then began to be featured on Colin Cowherd's show The Herd, where he would begin co-hosting with Chris Carter whenever Colin was on vacation. This was the genesis of First Things First, and despite a rotation of co-hosts, Nick has been a constant presence every morning for the past 5 years. Nick has shown examples of the classic heel tactics we talked about earlier, taking hot stances on different topics and players individually. I know I personally have been made extremely mad due to his takes and just want to see his co-host destroy his arguments on my behalf. However, I want to delve into his most popular examples, the first of which hits very close to home to me. First is his 2-year crusade against Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen. This epic spanned from Josh's first start in the league up until his most recent in the AFC divisional round versus Nick's beloved Kansas City Chiefs. Nick has always been opposed to Allen's play, utilizing advanced stats to show his lack of efficiency and accuracy in his first year. Then taking issue with the hero ball aspects of his game, hurdling defenders, backwards lateral passes in playoff games, taking large sacks instead of just throwing the ball away. Now these are all fair criticisms of a quarterback in their play. However, Nick would go to extremes to put down good performances, bestowing the nickname Magic Mountain Allen to belittle him after big statistical performances. The origin of this nickname was Allen's passer rating chart that looked like a roller coaster with large dips and huge highs that Nick would like to bring up on the show frequently. This all ended when Josh Allen threw for 4 touchdowns in a playoff loss to the Chiefs, where Nick would claim his Josh Allen slander would be over. During this time, Bills fans were incensed by his takes on their starting quarterback and would take every chance they could to get back at Nick. Prior to the Bills' win over the Pittsburgh Steelers in December 2020, and a particularly strong performance by Allen, Bills Mafia edited Nick's Wikipedia to read that Josh Allen was Nick Wright's quote-unquote daddy. Nick took to the airways on his Monday morning show to come after the Bills fans.
It's around 4 p.m. I checked. Louis Wright out, Josh Allen in. Hey, Wikipedia. I don't know if you know this, but everything on your website turns out not all accurate. You need to do something about this. I know it's the world's free encyclopedia. Well, what good is it if these Bills Mafia cretins can change my entire family tree? I'm not okay with it, dude, and I demand action, Wikipedia. Hey, Mr. Wikipedia.
I'm so sorry, I didn't think you were...
This is a classic case of heel tactics. Exactly the same as a heel going into a city and calling out a sports franchise that they know a majority of the people watching will be passionate fans of. Bills Mafia is known as one of the most passionate fan bases in the league, as well as the most active online. Nick knew this and used graphics, stats, and by nitpicking poor plays by the face of their team to drum up heat from a fan base whose attention was on him. This caused droves of Bills fans to watch the show to see what he'd say next or how Kevin and Chris would defend their quarterback and them by proxy. The biggest moment in this saga came when Nick appeared on The Herd to argue with Colin Cowherd about him placing the Bills as the number 1 team on his power rankings. A bet was made that if the Bills won 2 or more playoff games that postseason, Nick Wright would have to be covered in ketchup and mustard, similar to the pregame antics of known Bills superfan Pinto Ron. The Bills did end up making the AFC Championship game, and Nick was forced to serve his punishment, which he showed the next time he was on The Herd.
Show the video. Just run the video.
All right, let's get this over with. Ladies, go ahead. Go.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Is it over? There's more?
You know, actually,
oh god!
it actually matches his outfit.
Why aren't you holding the hot dog where it can get the condiment on it?
All right, I think we're enjoying this.
Wait, watch and wait.
All right.
Wow, this is for a radio audience. He appears to be somewhere in New York in an alley. And a hot dog and mustard and ketchup.
We're gone.
Eventually, Nick was forced to move off of Allen following consecutive great seasons and the aforementioned playoff game, having to switch gears and find a new fan base to try and draw heat from. Currently, Nick is leading a campaign against Russell Wilson after he joined his division rival Denver Broncos in the offseason. Wright continues to use stats from Russ's poor 2021 and make narratives about a quarterback that he knows will have a strong defending force behind them. Broncos country has suffered for a long time since Peyton Manning rode off into the sunset following their Super Bowl 50 win. A fan base who's had to go through mediocre quarterbacks with the likes of Joe Flacco, Trevor Siemian, Case Keenum, Drew Lock, and Teddy Bridgewater will be ravenous to defend someone who has been perceived as an MVP caliber quarterback. Despite my team and fan base being the target of Nick's focus for the better part of the last 2 years, I can't say I hate the man. He is good at his hustle, and just as I would respect a good wrestling heel, I respect Nick Wright. He knows all the right buttons to push to get someone worked up about their favorite player or team. He additionally knows how to back it up with specific stats and talking points to make his argument and beliefs seem legitimate. He is good at what he does, and what he does is piss fan bases off and make them want to see him get his ass verbally kicked on a daily basis. So, good job, Nick. I can't say I think the same way for our next person, though.
Palomalu, bro, they'll be licking her lips, bro. No cap, no homo, but it came off wrong. Like,
Flight Reacts is a YouTuber who posts reaction videos to different sports games highlights, I've already covered on this channel in the past. That previous video I made on him was just a kind of clowning on different bits he does, which we'll dive into shortly. However, I did get a lot of comments in the video of people insisting I didn't understand that he was playing a character, which is what made me think about making this current video. Yes, I understand it is an exaggerated character he plays. However, I will show you why I'm not the biggest fan of the specific gimmick he uses. Flight has 2 channels, Not Your Average Flight, where he has videos that are up to 9 years old of him playing NBA 2K games. At about the same time he began making storytime videos about him getting caught in class, being high, or finding out a girl was a thought, he began posting to the Flight Reacts channel. This channel was exclusively React content, which was exploding at the time. He has kept up the formula of gaming videos on his first channel and his other non-gaming ventures on the Flight Reacts channel. He streams daily, and that is where the clips of him reacting to NFL and NBA games are cut up from. Flight reacts to the highlight videos posted by the NFL's YouTube channel and reacts to them as if he was watching the game for the first time or live. His reasoning always is that he says he has a life and doesn't have time to keep up with the games live. Just like Nick, I want to break down the tactics Flight uses to get eyes on his product. However, I also want to exhibit how it is far more maddening way of gaining the heel heat. Flight has a few different bits to annoy and aggravate his fans. In the NFL, which is what I'll be sticking to for the rest of this section because this is a football channel, he posts videos watching a lot of different games, but explicitly relays to the audience that he is a New England Patriots fan. Despite being born in Washington, D.C. and moving to Florida at age 1, he picks the Pats because he knows everyone who isn't a Patriots fan absolutely hates them due to the frequency of winning and the accusations of cheating during the Brady era. Flay will often throw out random facts to try and anger fans of the team or player who he is currently trying to draw in. The first example that comes to my head is the comments he made after the Bills versus Patriots wildcard game in 2022.
Rhode Island, you flew out all the way to Rhode Island, bro. I mean, he's a Pro Bowler, but he doesn't average 5 touchdowns a game. That's his career high right there. That's the Buffalo's. No quarterback in Buffalo history had 5 touchdowns ever.
Obviously, this is a false stat for multiple reasons, but he uses it here to take the wind out of the sails of the Bills' win and treat them as a second-rate organization to piss the Bills fans off even more. This one is simple and it's a cheap trick to try to get under the skin of passionate fans. Even simple names like Nick Chubb are butchered to try and get any kind of reaction out of fans who know how to properly pronounce it and want him to as well as a sign of respect. He's able to get away with this because his platform is YouTube. Unlike a TV host who might be seen as classless for not taking the time to properly learn to speak players' names that they discuss on the regular. Flight reacts to a high level of sports and, to my knowledge, has never played any sports past the high school ranks, if he even did at high school. However, he insists that whenever a player isn't able to haul in a catch or gets tackled, that he could have made the play in his sleep. Anytime a player makes a big play, he talks about how he would be able to run them over or hit stick them, despite having the physique of Snoop Dogg Stickman. In the same vein of his unabashed self-confidence, Flight will consistently belittle current players' big-time plays or accomplishments. For example, every receiver who wears number 84 or makes a great catch over a defender is a discount Randy Moss. Or if a running back is able to pound it in at the 1 yard line for a touchdown, he would insist that the defenders were soft and that if they played back in the era of Ed Reed, they'd all be cut. This is another tactic that belittles players that people have a fandom of to get them angry and want to see him get his comeuppance. Where I believe Flight fails as an entertainer is his lack of balance to his brand of sports healing. Where Nick Wright has co-hosts who can verbally take the opposing side and has different logical ways to deconstruct his takes, Flight just says outlandish things for the sake of getting you mad. You can argue with him for sure, but this is a bit so over the top and aggressively wrong it would be akin to arguing with a small child. The point of a drumming up heat is to eventually be taken down by the hero, to much rejoicing. This has happened more often recently with the Patriots being more of an average team capable of losing, his video series of him getting bullied by basketball, and him losing a Madden Ultimate Team. However, those wins are very few and far between, and the content that makes up the long stretches is of him playing the most toxic and annoying character out there. In wrestling, there's a term known as go-away heat. Go-away heat is when a character gets the crowd to boo them, but not as intended, and the hatred from the crowd runs a lot deeper than we want to see him get what he deserves. The term is used when a character doesn't evolve their gimmick, or is overly exposed, or is generally dislikable past the intended ways that they want you to dislike them. That is what Flight is to me, someone who does a great job of making me hate them and want to see them get comeuppance. However, it is no longer because his shtick is working. It's his high-pitched screams and over-the-top reactions when he's getting the said comeuppance that makes it impossible for me to even enjoy when it's happening. Even when he is on the losing end of something, like the aforementioned Bills vs. Patriots wildcard game. He needs to try and come out on top with false stats or comments to paint the victor in a bad light. This ultimately kills the satisfaction you should feel seeing the annoying villain finally losing. Constant whining and complaining about the current game and the non-stop annoyance makes me not want to see him get what is coming to him. It just makes me want to turn off the screen, which is the opposite of what he's trying to accomplish. The godfather of the modern-day sports media heel is undisputed Skip Bayless. After a successful career of covering the Cowboys in articles and full-length books, Skip moved on to TV and eventually manned one of the most popular shows of all time in First Take with fellow host Stephen A. Smith. Following his departure from ESPN, he joined FS1 and began a new show known as Undisputed, where he resides today, taking sports debates with NFL Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe. Skip is the one I wanted to end on not only because he's the one who popularized the format of the sports media heel, but because he is the one who does it the best. Similar to Flight, Skip has his rooting interest in a notorious and hated fan base and team, the Dallas Cowboys, shouting proudly that they are America's team, and that everyone dreams of playing for the Dallas Cowboys since everybody loves them. The bravado and confidence he exudes when discussing the Cowboys only adds to the fire that he knows is out there for Dallas and their fandom. This gives him a basis for people to hate him before they even get to the specific talking points or players. However, the difference between him and Flight is a genuine passion for his team that doesn't come off as fake for the sole purpose of gaining heat. Flight may actually like the Patriots, but Skip would die for the Cowboys. Also, the Cowboys have been outside of the Super Bowl window for 20 plus years, allowing for people to get more frequent cases of the person they don't like licking their wounds because of a loss. The other way Skip gains heat is by picking larger player names and vocalizing his very strong opinions about them and backing up with stats or stories from his multiple decades of experience covering the NFL. He goes about this both ways as well, heavily criticizing and praising players that will generate polarizing reactions. He preaches the good word of Thomas Edward Patrick Brady for being a winner, leader, and overall best quarterback to play the game, while demonizing the playoff choke artist and DMT sampler Aaron Rodgers. Brady has obvious baggage that people will instinctively hate him for, whether it's the cheating scandals, constant success, or the consistent media praise from people like Bayless. Skip frequently singing the praises of Brady will bring in those who hate Tommy Terrific, hoping to see Shannon go against him, and he knows this. It's the opposite when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. A frequent whipping boy of Skip's for years, passionate Packers fans, those who already don't like Skip, will flock to his show if he is set to talk about him since they want to see what he's going to try and say next. However, the biggest and most notorious of the Skip Bayless heat magnets has to be his obsession in the early 2000s with Florida Gators quarterback Tim Tebow. Skip sang the praises of Tebow ever since he was in college, and when others viewed his first-round selection by the Broncos as a reach, Skip applauded it. The Tebow debate was a frequent and intense one between Skip and Stephen A., which is what led me to first finding First Take when I was younger. Tebow was already a controversial figure in the sports world before Skip began to anoint him. He was considered one of the most polarizing athletes. He would win games for the Broncos despite terrible passing play, leading to overhyped expectations of him as the next great quarterback. In addition, he polarized people based on his pregame ritual of kneeling and praying, which brought religion into the conversation. Skip defending Tebow as hard as he did led to more and more explosive debates and reactions from fans, especially as Tim's play became worse and worse. Skip is the king of YouTube highlight videos, of being proven wrong or having terrible takes. However, he's still doing what he does because those takes and opinions he has are what bring people to watch his shows. Skip knows what he's doing, and unlike others who will try to replicate it, he makes his takes based on his genuine true opinions and feelings, which give them a grounded sense to the argument. Plus, his decades of sports coverage have built him a reputation as someone who knows what he's talking about, and to what specific things or stats to focus on when in these debates. I may not agree with Skip, I would probably say 9 out of 10 times I disagree with him, but the way he's able to deliver arguments and to do it as long as he has done it is respectable. Thank you for watching this breakdown of the heels in today's sports media. I'm a big fan of sports debate, football, and wrestling, so this topic just felt like a perfect blend of things for me. I personally don't hate any of the individuals I discussed today, and they have exponentially more fame and money, so I'm assuming my opinions won't hurt them, and they probably won't even see this, so I'm not stressing about it, neither should you. If you like these guys, I have no problem with it. Go ahead and do it. Don't feel ashamed or anything like that, because you know what, I like a lot of stuff that other people don't like. So you do you, and don't let anybody else hate on it just because of that. So if you enjoyed what you saw here, I have a bunch more projects coming out, whether it's going to be sports conversations myself or other fun things I'm going to be doing with football in general. So stick around, and I'll see you in the next video.